Hello, Needham, and Happy New Year! Thank you for staying warm with us on What's My House Worth. Alongside Ryan McDonald, I am Rob Tickton. It's chilly out there, huh, Ryan?
It's beyond cold.
It's beyond cold, and that's why we're wearing our coats.
We just can't seem to shake the shiver.
Why not? So keep them on. That's what we do. We are with Hawthorn Real Estate. We are a design build company. We also provide brokerage services, sometimes for people. We do both, Ryan.
That's right.
But today we are here to talk to you about the sales in Needham single-family homes on MLS in the month of
December.
That's right, the last month of the year as we close out 2014 before we start selling. Ooh, sorry, hand is cold. I don't have the gloves like you do, Ryan. But before we break it down house by house, slice it, dice it, as we tend to do, first let's take a look at the overall picture of the month of December. And as we look at the sales, Ryan, do you see anything there that jumps off the page?
20 sales, Rob. Not a lot of activity in December. We had 27 closings in the month of November. And also, but on the flip side is the average list price and average sale price is both up back over that $1 million threshold. They were both at the in the high 900s in November. But the big number for me, Rob, is look at the sale price as a percentage of list and as a percentage of original list. Like those numbers are, I mean, from the couple of years we've been doing this, those aren't even close to the norm.
Yeah, that's it's almost like a closeout sale.
Right. It looks to me like people, and you can also look at the days on market is up significantly, 106 from 41 last month. People who've maybe been carrying their houses for a while, trying to get them closed by the end of the year, and maybe taking a little bit of a discount, which speaks to those percentages, but those are low.
Yeah, we were starting to get a little spoiled there, Ryan.
Right.
We were seeing numbers that were eclipsing 100%.
Yeah, and hovering right at that 99%, basically month over month. And 93.2% of original list, that's a number that gives me a little bit of concern that people maybe are pricing their houses too high out of the chutes, on the heels of such a strong year.
That's right, and I think we'll see partly, maybe there's one listing in particular that dragged those numbers down a little bit.
True.
But agreed, numbers that we have not seen yet. Anything else before we jump to the graphs?
29 homes sold last year, so versus the 27 this year in December, so that's not terribly different. But, December was a little slow.
Okay, let's take a look at the trend now. Last 6 months, as the temperatures dip, so do the number of sales.
Yeah, you got yourself a little bit of a lounge chair there, Rob. So 20 sales. You can see the peak obviously in the summer months that are the spring closings, and then it dips. And this is it's not terribly concerning. It's pretty much what we expect.
Right. I like that lounge chair reference. Yeah. That's not the only graph we do here on What's My House Worth. We also like to compare month over month, and in this case it's December. So how did December 2014 stack up against Decembers of the past? And
it's our worst December.
I don't like the looks of that, do you?
Yeah, come on, December.
Yeah. December can do better than that.
Seriously, it has.
It has. It was pretty consistent for the 3 years leading up to 2014, but we're dipping, and who knows? Maybe that means that January will be a little bit better than it has been.
Could be a timing thing
in years past. So we'll keep our eyes open for that as we do next month's show.
All right, let's do that.
So in the meantime, let's take a look at these individual sales, and we're going to start things as we always do, which is the lowest sales price for the month, and then we'll slowly and surely build our way up.
That's
but before we do that, 83 Henderson Street gets things rolling here on What's My House Worth.
Yeah.
83 Henderson, Ryan, sells for $447.
I liked 83 Henderson. I mean, it's a great little location. It's in the Newman School. It's a great downsizing home. It's also a good starter home. It's only 2 bedrooms and it's less than 1,000 square feet. But it's also maybe a good rental. It has a lot of potential. I mean, this is a nice little house, like a little cottage. I liked it.
Just 2 beds.
Just 2 beds, right.
Also, Ryan, do you know that 83 Henderson holds the distinction of being the smallest house to sell in Needham in 2014?
Yeah, good for you, 83 Henderson. Way to get it done.
Right under the wire.
Good.
Before we move on, there's one thing I forgot to tease, and that's that we will be looking over sales by school district as we get further in the show.
It's my favorite slide of the year.
People look forward to that. I know they mark their calendars, and so we didn't forget. We will be hitting that towards the back end of this episode. Back to the chart we go. Sure. 259 Greendale Ave is next up on the list. This one sells for $540,000 on the market for 62 days, Ryan.
Yes, this one went on, expired, then it came back on at a slightly lower price. It's deceptively large, Rob. I mean, it's almost 1,700 square feet, but when you drive by, it doesn't look that big.
No, it doesn't look like it as I look at the picture.
Yeah. So you got some decent space there, and getting it for $540. I mean, I think that's a well-priced sale.
Yeah, it sold for $520,000 back in 2006.
Yeah. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, the
House
person
has
who
done
bought
well.
it didn't make a ton of money.
Well, that's true.
But they made a little bit.
Yep.
And it beats losing money.
That's also true.
We'll get to some of those a little bit later. 357 Central Avenue is our next house. This one is expanded and updated with loving care and architectural flair.
That is fun.
Yeah.
It's a nice lot, too.
Nicely put. Yeah, big lot, 12,000 square feet.
But it doesn't include any of the basement space. That's extra, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a separate negotiation.
That's a big cape.
How do you exclude it?
Well,
Don't go down there. You can't go down there.
No, I don't think. I think the figure doesn't.
Oh,
include it.
I see. Thanks, Rob.
Right, no problem. Just figured I wanted to get things straight. Right near Elliott, though.
Yes.
Walked out. I mean, it's right near the park behind Elliott. It's
Yeah.
a good little spot for the
Right
kids
on the
to
avenue.
play. Yeah, right on the avenue. Ready to take a look at a land sale?
Okay.
Okay. 45 Livingston is, for all intents and purposes, a land sale, correct?
It is a land sale.
Perhaps you can shed some light on this one, Ryan.
This one had a boatload of offers, close to 20 on this one. It's a great lot, great neighborhood. Sold for $750, was asking $675, but that was clearly a placeholder. This is a perfect example of a house where the seller experiences tremendous value because of the secondary market, which is the redevelopment, the tear down option. This house was not. You couldn't move into this house. It just wasn't fit for anyone to move into without a good deal of work. And if it weren't for the ability to turn this around and redevelop it, it would have sold for a lot less.
Right. So it was very clear that
Yes.
of these almost 20 offers, all of them were coming from people who wanted to do something with this
Right.
lot other than live in this
No,
house.
no one was walking in and dropping their bags and moving into this house.
Well, we've talked about this neighborhood before, Ryan, and it's a real desirable location. People like to be there. It's a kind of a tight-knit community.
Yeah, definitely.
And, that probably explains why it goes for $75,000 more than,
Yep.
well, as you said, was basically a placeholder anyway. Similar to Livingston Circle, with this kind of feel that the people who are there like to be there, is our next listing, Woodbine Circle. Kind of the same feel, I feel like, in that neighborhood, but wow, this is, I would say, a candidate for deal of the month.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely kicked it around. It's. I mean, first and foremost, I think, as we always do, we look at the public record. I mean, the 2,500. When we walked through the house, we just kind of didn't feel like that was really how we felt that in terms of the space. And it was public records got 1906, so the 2,500 probably includes some of the lower levels.
Right. I agree. I saw
Yeah.
2,500. It seemed like a big number, and it seemed even bigger when I saw it did not include the 3-room finished
Right,
lower level.
right. So it was a little confusing. Definitely a nice neighborhood. There's a lot of updating going on in that Woodbine Circle neighborhood. But this one, I guess, it's $762,500. I mean, if you just look at ranches, I mean, the average sale price for a ranch in Needham in the last 3 years is $575,000.
Ooh, somebody's been doing some research.
So it's anytime you kind of look at those numbers and like, all right, what am I paying relative to what other people have paid for similar homes? And granted, the market has improved, but it's definitely a number that gave us cause for pause.
Right. And when I say deal of the month, in light of all this, it obviously was for the seller, because it
Right.
seems like a great number to get.
Yep.
$762,500.
But I mean,
I wouldn't
they
have
got
guessed.
it fast. I mean, 24 days. I mean, it sold quickly. I mean, it's. But that one definitely, both of us, I think, were surprised.
Agreed. Down to another popular neighborhood, Ryan.
Sure.
We talked about it once. We've talked about it 500 times. Olin Woods,
Here we
102
are.
Standish Road. We're going to go back to back Olin Woods.
Yeah.
So things are going to get exciting here. This square footage includes 407 square feet in the basement. So you're talking about first and second floor of under 2,000 square feet.
1840.
Can we talk a little bit about the list price? Because you don't see $799,000, $700,000 very often.
No.
So
no, you
I
don't.
guess, is there...
Maybe they were including the lower level for that 700.
Right, but if you go, why not go? That's good. That's good. Way to bring it back.
Thanks.
But $799,900 or $799,000. You don't see the $799,700. What do you think about the number, though? Sorry, I'm digressing. As I
I mean, also the sales. Why stop there? The sale price $829,250.
Right.
And that's a number you don't see every day.
That's right.
Yeah, but I mean, this house built in 1974 was when they started to kind of open floor plans up a little bit. So it was roomy. It's been updated. Standish is a nice little street. I like this little deal.
All right. Well, just a hop, skip, and a jump from Standish Road is Mayflower Road.
Yep.
And 30 Mayflower Road specifically sells for $842,500. What do you think about that number, Ryan?
I mean, when this one came out at $849, I think we both thought it was going to sell quickly. The house there's maybe some things to do in the house that you might do long term, like the kitchen's a little small.
Right, and some things are being done to this house as we speak.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. So, but it did also have some updates, like new heating system, central air. I mean, it's a great street. It's a really nice lot. So I think this price and this sale did not surprise either one of us.
Agreed.
I mean, I'll speak for you.
Really, really nice lot. House a little on the tired side, but you're right. A little bit of updating can go a long way with this one. Freshen it up, and I think it is indicative. Some of these numbers that we're seeing: Standish, Mayflower, and Woodbine, as it escapes me. I think shows that it still is a strong market, even though the numbers are a little bit down for the month of January or December. Excuse me. Next up on the list, speaking of a strong market, is 69 Coolidge Avenue. And what do you think about that, Ryan? That's my deal of the month.
Yeah, so have at it, Rob.
I will. So I did a little bit of research, Ryan, as we tend to do for this show. 3 beds, 1.5 bath, right? Under 2,000 square feet. Okay? 3 beds, 1.5 bath, under 2,000 square feet, correct? Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the last 2 years,
I'm about to get tricked.
After this house, tell me the next highest selling house that has those specifications. 3 beds, 1.5 baths, under 2,000 square feet. This one sells for $935,000. What's next?
It's got to be in the 8s, Rob.
How about $790,000?
Holy smokes.
23 Wilshire Park.
Oh, wow.
So this one sells for $145,000 more than that. Now, I'm not saying that this house was worth $790,000. I don't think that. I think it was worth more. It's a great location. Obviously, it's a ladder street. It's a pretty good layout. And it's at a time, or at least it went on the market at a time when things were, dare I say, gangbusters. But $935, I see that number, and one of the first things I do is I look at the buyer's agent because I'm curious if it's an out-of-town agent or if it's an in-town agent, and it was an out-of-town agent, and to me that speaks a little bit to potentially, I don't know.
Did they overpay, Rob?
I'm not going to answer that question. Actually, I will answer that question with a statement. I think if you put Coolidge on the market today, I don't think you get $935. I don't even know if you get a number that starts in the 9s.
Right, I was thinking 8s.
Right, so...
And so was the seller, I mean, for what it's worth.
Right. It's an astounding number, I think, for under 2,000 square feet. Have I made my point?
I think so. I don't think there's any illusions as to how we feel about this one.
That always tends to happen when my hands get cold. 144 Brookside Road is next up, and I don't quite feel as strongly about this listing. Assessed value, Ryan, of $645,000.
I don't know if Chip Davis has been out to Brookside Road lately.
You think their taxes are going up?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. What else? What else do you think about this one?
Huge lot, over 2 acres, almost 3 actually. It has a pool, an in-ground pool. It's a cape. It's been updated, but still, maybe you could freshen it a little bit. $950 for the space and the lot size. It's probably a good deal.
Yeah, I would agree. And speaking of good deals, I think 30 Bird Street might be a good deal as well.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, it originally was listed at over 1.1, which I think might have contributed, as we've stated in the past, that the danger of overlisting or overpricing out the gates is you may settle on a number that's lower than what you would have gotten if you'd have priced appropriately. And this one at 1,124 settles at 985. They had 4 price drops. The house is at a great location, right near Broadmeadow. It's a cool house. It's contemporary style. It was built in 2001. It sold for $899 in 2004. And just $985, 10 years later. So
that's a good deal in 2004.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, I think this is a combination of maybe priced a little too high out of the gates, and it does maybe, tip to a softening of the market and less demand.
I think the listing before this one, 144 Brookside, the listing after this one that we're going to get to in a moment, and this one, these 3 kind of speak a little bit to how we got to 92% of original list too. Because we're seeing steep discounts off original lists. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a softening market. It could just mean that we have an aberration of some agents that potentially overprice their homes.
True. And sellers.
And sellers.
I mean, let's not just throw the agents under the bus here, Rob.
Right, that's right. Sorry, agents. 142 Honeywell Street is next up.
Yeah, this one was a candidate for me for deal of the month for the buyer. Because you remember we both saw this together.
We did.
I like this house. So this house was built by its owner. So it was very much tailored to this owner's taste, and it really hadn't been updated since. It was like 1989 or so.
That's exactly right, Ryan.
But the bones are there, the structure's there. You just need to freshen it, and you have a lot of space. And even though it's kind of on the corner, near the corner of Honeywell and Central, when we're standing in that backyard, it felt very private. The house is set back from the road, it's set back from Honeywell, has a large lot, large backyard, has a huge garage with the workroom. You could. There's all kinds of things you can do in that garage.
Car lift. It's heated.
Car lift. It's heated. It needs cosmetics, but I mean, I think for $1 million, you're getting this much square feet. This size property. It's it's in a busy location, but it's a good commuter one. I mean, I liked it. It felt like the buyer got value here.
I like the layout of it too.
Yep.
I thought the layout was good.
Yep.
And it has the artificial deer in the front yard.
Yep.
I don't know if that would have conveyed with the house.
Probably not.
1129 Webster Street is one that, hey, look at that, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right, ready? Go.
Yeah, take it. And this is for just over $1 million. You're getting a canvas and a great location, I think, on Webster, over near South Street. Huge lot, a really cool architectural house that you could spend $500,000 in here and still have tons of equity in this house, and it would be spectacular.
Right.
This one, it was completely overpriced when it came out. It was on the market for a while. You had some price reductions, but getting this house for $1,050,000, buyer did a fantastic job.
All right. So there you go. Ryan's deal of the month for the buyer.
Slate roof, 40,000 square foot lot. This is a great property.
Of the 20 or so deal of the months that you've done over the last few years, what percentage have been for the buyer?
Well, what's 1 out of 20? That's 5%?
That's correct. All right, there we go.
Hey, I call them as I see them.
It's a new year.
That's right.
So we'll see. 56 Gatewood Drive is one of 2 Gatewood listings we're going to be looking at today.
Good job, Gatewood.
Ryan, my first thing I said when I walked out of this house, you probably don't remember, is I'm hungry. But no. But the other thing I said was I liked it more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
And I did. I don't know. I guess that's a good sign, right?
Yeah. I mean, it recently renovated. Definitely, it was cleaned up. It was very shiny.
Yeah.
Big lot, over an acre. The only thing this one is they had this totally modern new kitchen, and then the room right off the kitchen was the family room. I don't know if you remember, was wood paneled, rustic. It was a total contrast in styles. So I think if you're gonna do the renovation, renovate the family room too, because they didn't go together. But it was a nice room. I mean, don't get me wrong, it would have been a great den, but the fact that it was your central area, it was kitchen, family room, boom, and they were completely different styles. But who am I?
What do you know?
What do I know?
Right. Well, what would have been nice too, since we're on kind of this theme, is on the right side you had the living room, which was nice and big, but it would have been a little bit better if you could kind of go circular into the kitchen. Because you remember you walked into the right, and then it was really deep, but there was no other way to get in and out of it.
Yeah.
Just an observation, but who am I as well?
Maybe people would ask us before they would do these things, then
Yes.
we can avoid these kinds of uncomfortable conversations.
We're climbing the ladder
in
terms of sales price. And list price for that matter. 46 Maple Street is a new construction home. This was an interesting one, unique in the sense that it was technically attached.
Yep.
They didn't share a wall necessarily with the house that it was attached to, because there were 2 kind of sheds that were house, shed, house.
Okay.
But I give the builder a lot of credit with this one.
Okay.
Because as a builder, sometimes it's hard to know where you want to spend the money and where you want to not necessarily spend the money and get your desired number. And it seems like the builder was able to do that in this case, in the sense that he, you don't see many homes going for over $1-2 million that are new construction that have the vinyl siding.
Right.
This one does, but there's a very, defined strategy here, and that's an in-town location, right? And it's, a good-sized lot. Granted, you're sharing it with another house, but you want somebody who wants to be close to town, who wants to walk to town, and that's the most important thing to them. And so that's what they did. They owned it.
Worked.
And they got their number.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, I know. I actually didn't see that one, Rob. I just was, I was curious about the over-the-top luxury, which I think you've discussed very nicely.
Okay, very good. 359 Grove Street.
Okay, I did see this one.
Oh, all right. I don't think I saw this one.
No, I think I was by myself. This one, 155 days on market, started out at just under 145, settled in the 1.2s. It was, I think, it's right on Sabrina Lake, but doesn't have access to the water. It's a big lot. This was one of Needham's more famous residents. You can look into that if you so choose. It has some updates. First floor master. I think the 1.2 number is a good number. I think it just maybe started out too high.
Which is the theme for
right, and it's it is sort of pointing out the obvious, but I mean we can't stress it enough, the importance of pricing.
That's right. Well, I mean, to their credit, it was assessed at 1,447, And so,
Okay.
not everybody seemed to get this one wrong.
Right.
But there you go. Additional 1,000 square feet in the lower level in that one.
That's true.
121 Charles River Street is next up on the list. Again, we're kind of out in this area. It's a little bit, I don't want to say off the beaten path, but it's certainly not a walk-to-town location. So it's a little bit less of a predictability in terms of sales price, I feel like, in this location. I think this house is an example of that. For the sake of disclosure, this is a house that we did.
Yes, it is.
And, new construction, obviously. We liked it.
Loved it.
Right? Some nice high-end finishes.
See, the buyer got a good value there, Rob, wouldn't you say?
I would agree.
Yeah.
Was this a candidate for deal of the month?
I mean, it was. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I think this is, if I'm going to go deal of the month for the buyer, this one's right up there. This is a really nicely done house. It's just the circumstances are such that the buyer got a pretty good deal.
So it's in the conversation in terms of
Absolutely.
Propane heat.
Yep.
So when you don't have gas in the street, when it comes to new construction, you basically have two choices. Either you're going to do oil or you're going to do propane.
Or geothermal.
Or geothermal, that's correct. And so this one's propane heat. And there you go.
All right.
Anything else you want to say about this one?
Good luck, buyers. That's a nice house. You're going to love it.
Yeah, you will love it. 750 Chestnut Street. Interesting to compare this one with 121 Charles River Street.
Okay.
Right? If you're looking to buy a house, I know it's hard to remove yourself because of your relationship with 121 Charles River Street, but you want to buy either Charles River or 750 Chestnut. I mean, they went for pretty much the same number. Which one are you buying?
I mean, I like the house at Charles River better, but the location of Chestnut, I think I'd prefer.
Yeah, it's pretty cool too. It's kind of set back a little bit.
Definitely.
This one. And,
definitely.
Built in 1981.
Yeah, this one's got an interesting history. I mean, sold in 2001 for 135, then in 07 for 1050, and then in 2012 for 1305, and then here at 1355. So
it's been trading a lot, is what you're saying.
Yes, it's very well traveled. This is one that I think it's a good number in the 1.3s. This is a good house. It's just I'm surprised, and there's got to be interesting circumstances as to why it's turned over so many times. But I think it's a pretty good price.
Heated saltwater in-ground pool.
Yeah, why not?
You don't see many saltwater pools in the Northeast.
No.
They seem to be all the rage down in Florida. A little bit.
It's a good factoid.
Yeah, you like that? A good factoid with no real hard facts associated with it. Let's go back to Gatewood.
Let's do that.
All right, 44 Gatewood. So,
yeah, this one's contributing to our 92% of original list, obviously. This one went out in almost 1.8. So this is a perfect example of a house. When you see it at 1.8, you're like, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. But then when it's at 1.375, like, all right, great, done, great, good deal. So it's your perception completely changes because your expectations of a house at 1.8 are going to be, tons of built-ins, lots of features, gadgets, and all kinds of great stuff. And it didn't have that. What it did have was a really nicely updated, finished house, which at 1.375 for the lot that it's on and the location, I think works.
Right.
So it's again. We're broken recording this, but pricing.
Well, I'll tell you what the house didn't have.
What's that?
So this house sold in July of 2013 for $1.02 million.
Right.
So what I did, Ryan, is went back to the archives and checked out the July show to see what we had to say about this house. I hadn't seen it, you had. And so what you had said was that it was a choppy floor plan.
It was, yeah.
And it was hard to get kind of from one side to the other.
The family room was totally on the other side of the house.
So builder buys this house for 102, and you can put a lot of money into it. But if you're not doing a complete gut renovation where you're altering the layout, you're not gonna. You can only do so much with the floor plan.
Right.
And so
this was just an updated house. It wasn't changed at all.
That's right.
Yeah.
So some would say you kind of called it.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob.
Sure. Kind of. 100 Taylor Street is next up, and I know it's a long ways away from summer, but when these folks are ready to start sipping their summer drinks on the deck, this will be the house they're going to want to do it in.
Boom, go for it.
The backyard was described as gracious.
Oh, well, that's pleasant.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's good for sipping your summer drinks.
I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I hear gracious, and I hear not huge, but you could do some things with it.
Right. Splendid.
Okay, big seller time.
Yeah.
This is a big seller. I like when I see our big sellers go over $2 million.
Yeah, I mean, this one on Carlton is right on the corner of Carlton and Central. Mm-hmm. The only comment I would have on this, Rob, is if I'm designing this house, it's got a 3-car garage, but it's on the side of the house that's facing Central. Mm-hmm. So everybody that drives by this house, instead of looking at a cool facade that you could have done something from the outside that's like facing Central, that's neat, it's the 3-car garage. So I just would have probably flipped it and put it on the other side, so it's facing your Carlton neighbor, so when all the street traffic is seeing your cool house as opposed to your garage.
Right. So you're talking about the street traffic, but just as an opposing view, when you talk about functionality, if you have kids and you want them in the backyard and you want them either on the one side of the house or the other, wouldn't you prefer them to be on the non-central side?
Yeah, but I don't know that it's. I don't know.
That's a factor?
Perhaps.
All right, listen,
We'll
you don't have to give it to me.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps up the 20 sales for the month of December. Next up, as I alluded to earlier, we're going to take a look at the school districts. Now, before we jump into this slide, a couple things. Actually, we can probably jump into it, but I just want to kind of lay out
It's good because it's
what we did. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. So what we did is we took the 5 school districts and basically for 2014 broke down all the scales on a per school district basis. So what we're going to do is kind of go
just a quick little overview,
column by column,
Yeah,
and talk a little bit about all of them. So Ryan, with that in mind, why don't you get us rolling?
So we had 300 sales in Needham in 2014. Not surprising, the most sales were in Newman. It's the largest of the districts. It was the number 1 last year as well. So the quantity breakdown really is as we'd expect.
This is what you'd expect.
Right. It gets interesting in the next column when you look at the highest average sale price is in Hillside.
It wasn't in Hillside last year,
It was not. Hillside was 4th.
Hillside was 4th, and first was Newman last year.
First was Newman last year. Second was Mitchell. Mitchell's 4th this year. But Hillside is, the high rent district. Good for Hillside.
Yeah, Hillside coming in strong.
Hillside. 18 of the 45 sales in Hillside this year were over $1 million.
Oh, that's good.
40%.
Okay, wow.
So Hillside just banged it, just kicked it up a notch. But what you can also see jumping all the way to the end, though, is the square footage. The biggest, on average, the largest houses sold in Hillside, which also surprised me.
I don't know if I like you jumping ahead like this.
Yeah, I figured they're tied together.
Okay.
But so jumping back, the price per square foot, Mitchell was number 1 last year at $340. This year, ringing in at $370. So that's a pretty big jump. But it's the highest price per square foot's in Mitchell. The lowest is in Elliott. That's consistent with last year.
And of course, stating the obvious here, that's dollars per square foot. That's the average of the homes that
Correct.
sold in 2014 in that school district.
Correct.
Yes.
So but Hillside, it was what I alluded to with the being the largest homes on average. Also, it's the 4th highest price per square foot. So that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But in last year, Hillside was number 2 in terms of the price per square foot. But all of the price per square foot, all those numbers are going up. Same with the average sale prices. Every one of them in every district is up from 2013.
Right, which isn't surprising.
I'm sorry. Newman is down. Newman was over $1 million at the average sale price last year, and it's down to $998, but still hovering very close.
Right.
The days on market, that's a fun one. Broadmeadow, flying off the shelf, 32 days. That's an incredible number.
Yeah.
If you really break it down.
For 57 sales, too.
If you think about, all of the stress that can go into, real estate sales, just to be able to bang that out in 30 days on average is pretty good. Even the high is being 50. That's really not a tremendous, a tremendous amount of time when you look at just, the history of real estate markets. Just speaks to how strong this market is.
Well, as I say, Ryan, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, sure does.
Quickly, market snapshot as of January 5th, 2015. This is how things look as we speak. And the single-family listings, as we would expect, kind of hunkering down a little bit, coming off. Still good number of homes under agreement, so January shouldn't be too bad. And the average listing price, I feel like the first 2 numbers are more often than not the 1 and the 3, right? It just kind of varies in that range.
Yep.
Average days on market, now that's kind of high.
Yeah, it is high.
And the average list price per square foot is kind of low.
It is low. We've been hovering in the 340 range for the average list price per sale. So the ones on the market are averaging 320. Yeah. They've been on the market for a while, and there aren't that many of them. So all of that speaks to not a ton of activity next month. But
yeah, well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But we're in a cold spell right now. Maybe we thaw out, and the spring market is right around the corner. So it should be interesting.
Get ready, folks. People want to reach us, Ryan. How do they do that?
Well, Rob, they could call us at 781-707-6564. You can also email us at rob.ryan@hawthornre.com.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Ryan.
You're welcome.
That does it for this installment, this chilly installment.
Yeah, warm up.
What's My House Worth? Thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you, Needham, again very soon.
Happy New Year, Needham.
See you, Needham.